she's saying that all works, use it. That's what she's telling me.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's like...
It's a 15-minute morning show podcast. We got a full house today. We've got Scotty B and Nate in one studio together.
Hey-oh.
What are you guys doing?
Banana Brothers.
Banana Brothers.
They're doing the gag test.
The gag test.
Gandhi's here. There's Scary and there's Garrett. Our friend Jason's here, but he's not talking. And Danielle's here. And our guest, Shaw-nae. Shaw-nae Dixon.
Hey, yes.
And thank you for being on the show with us today.
I'm happy to be here. This is dope.
It gives you another reason to go back and listen to our show on demand, because if you missed our conversation with Shaw-nae today, you missed out on a lot.
Right.
Lots to unpack. Do you want to start with let's start with Shaw-nae.
All right.
She looked at Gandhi, and then she started looking above Gandhi's head like something was flying around in the air, right?
Yes.
And what did she say?
Okay, so I told her I too see the same numbers that she saw often, and that's when she said, yeah. So as soon as I looked in your eyes, I saw spirits everywhere, all around you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, do you know how many people have said that to me? I don't feel it. I don't know. People ask me if it's heavy all the time. All I know is that this is how it's always been, but she was very adamant that this is happening. I don't want to hear about it.
You're looking at Gandhi now. Are you seeing spirits flying around?
Well, they are around, and it wasn't that I just saw them here. I actually had the experience hearing them over the radio when I was listening to the show, because I wanted to kind of like keep track of the fact that I did sort of have an interaction with you sort of in the spirit. So when I was having that interaction, it was like, make sure that I have the conversation. And I didn't obviously remember that I had that experience. And that's kind of like how it happens, because when the spirits come in and out, I can't always remember sometimes some of the messages that they give me when they do give them to me. And most times when I do read spirits moving around or doing anything, it's through like eyes or skin or something, and then it comes around you, and it happens through vibration. So like vibration, your whole body is made up of mostly water. So when you're speaking, that's how spirits kind of like get the opportunity to tap in.
Does it ever wear you out though? Aren't you like, spirits, shut up.
Yes.
Let me relax.
Yes, absolutely. You do get drained. I started taking baths again, because before I used to do baths and I used to like try to like wipe the energy off, like remove it with salt and oils and stuff like that. And I have had like those really like Whoopi Goldberg moments in a bank. Like went to the bank and saw my bank person's father talking to him, and he's like tapping him on the back, and he's telling me things, and he's saying his name. Like, and it was the first time that I had an experience. Did you tell him that was happening? So I'm speaking to him like not knowing if I'm supposed to say it out loud, like so who is, and then I didn't want to say the name because I didn't trust my gift at the time. And the guy like stops, and he kind of like understands where I'm going with it. I said, and I could hear the spirit saying, Ray John, Ray J, Ray. And I was like going over and over again. I said, Ray? And I'm like talking like, Ray John, Ray J? And the guy is looking like, what did you just say?
Okay, so I got to ask you.
That's crazy.
Because I'm assuming not everyone is open to this conversation. Do people look at you like, you are freaking out, sister?
Right. So like,
I mean, they think you're like out of your mind.
That was what I thought it was. I thought that more people were closed about having the experience, but more people are open about having the conversation. Like I didn't know that it was like people really wanted to know that until I started doing it, because then it was like I had to figure out what's my strategy for talking to people or reading or hearing your spirit talking to me, and I had to start asking for permission. And I felt like that because one woman came into the restaurant close before I like really opened up, and she was talking to me. She wasn't buying any food, and I wasn't selling any food at the time. And she's talking to me, and I'm like, cheese, like screaming. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I didn't know what it was. Cheese. I'm like, cheese. And as she's walking out the door, she drops her bag at my door, and I'm like, are you okay? And she comes back and she brings her hand to me. She says, what's that? And I said, I don't know. And her hand was like all blotchy and like messed up. She said, I just asked my dad today if he's allergic to cheese, and because I ate cheese and I broke out. And I said, so what did your dad say? And she said, I don't know, you just told me he said cheese. And I said, what?
Oh, her dad was talking through you.
Yes.
Oh my God. He was not alive.
Yes. And so I said, so your dad's not here? And she said, no. I said, so that's the guy standing behind you, because I could clearly see him.
Did you explain what he looked like and stuff?
Yeah, so he was extremely tall, thin, dark hair, and I'm explaining the guy to her the way that I see him, and she says, that's my dad, and he's allergic to cheese.
Whoa.
So Danielle, whose father passed away several years ago, you know he's walking around causing trouble.
I'll tell you the thing that got me when he passed. 2 or 3 days later, I was sitting at my son's soccer match, and there was hundreds of people on the sideline, and all of a sudden a dog got loose, and I just said, "Dad, give me a sign that you're okay."
Right.
This dog comes running down the soccer field, turns, comes to me, jumps on my lap, and licks my face. I'm like, what the hell? The woman comes over who owns him and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And I go, "What's your dog's name?" She goes, "Aries. My sign is Aries." And I feel like I had asked my dad for a sign, and he sent this dog to like tell me I'm good, Daddy.
And so I don't know if it's ever been like an issue with you gossiping or saying things or talking too much or saying stuff that was too much
on the show.
So like I don't know
That's
what. So I would say in my spirit that he would be saying to you, just don't be a gossip girl. Is what I'm hearing is like kind of like find your way to not be gossiping, because he's dangling keys, kind of like in a sense.
Oh, Dad?
Yes, dangling keys.
Yeah.
I don't know what the keys are for. And explain peppermints. I don't know why he's saying peppermints or something like that, or some kind of like mint. I don't know if it's a mint. I'm trying to work through it because he's coming. In a vestibule or like a foyer or something, standing in a space, standing alone in a space, in a vestibule or a foyer or somewhere that is offsetting from your house.
Could be the church where he always spent all his time.
Standing in a space and saying that is the path, that's the cross, that's the path for you, is like going into that one little isolated space, not speaking out of turn and not talking about things that are not connected to what it is that you're supposed to be talking about. Don't talk about things that are not true, is what he's saying. Don't say things.
No idea what
you
Oh, I do.
Don't say things that are not true.
Yeah.
Not true. So I mean, you don't necessarily have to say that they're not true, but I guess what he's speaking to me about, because he's saying it's refreshing, it's like I have to kind of like put things together about why you use certain symbols or why you say certain things. So peppermint is like refreshing or freshening or starting over or cleaning something, and he's saying he doesn't want you to operate in things that are not true to you.
I know exactly what
true.
this
What
is.
is it?
We're not talking about the stuff you do on the air. We're talking about all the gossiping you do off the air.
But I don't. That's
So
the
you
thing.
didn't know. And it's
I
not
try
this-
to keep away from all
It's
that. I
not-
never
and
know anything.
I'm here to stir
stay
it up.
along those lines and not do anything that's true. So you being heavier than you were before, I'm gonna just say this.
I'm light.
she's
Actually,
putting
the
it together.
opposite.
Right. You were heavier before, now
Yep.
you're lighter. In your heavier stage, something came into your spirit or into your life from your past, something in your past, many moons down, like many generations down, saying they did not want you to suffer the same issues that they had. They wanted you to break sort of curses.
So, do you have fat asses in your lineage?
Right.
I do.
So they're saying they
too.
don't want you to have any kind of like, they want you to break generational curses of medical problems, medical issues, trying to get you to do it. And so when we were out there talking about discipline is something that you had. Accountability is something that you didn't have. And that was because you weren't surrounded around the people that actually cared about you participating in those actions or those activities to make sure that you broke the curses. But then I don't know if you lost somebody or somebody in your life that you're not speaking to walked away or kind of like left you, but that person is saying when that person was lost, then you became this person where it's like, I need to change my life. I need to get myself together. So this person is now speaking, saying, they're grateful that you were able to do that, because now it's really going to change the trajectory of where your future is and what your legacy is. Also saying that you need to then also tap into your voice, understanding that your voice is necessary, because they were speaking to you about using your voice and making sure that you understood that the matters were worse when you were like that, and the loss is not great. You think the loss is great, but it's not really bigger than what you have to do for the future. That loss is real, but it's not bigger than what you have to do in the future. And it's saying separate from that, not feel that kind of like pain that you have for that situation anymore. Kind of like just understand that that's a better situation for them and for you.
Well,
By the way, she's talking about scary. Shaw-nae's talking about scary. I don't. If you're listening to this,
that's right.
I just want everyone to know who she's directing this to.
And I lost my mom 3 months ago.
Okay, she's the one that's speaking, and she's the one that's saying that it's okay.
And
She's okay.
It's funny how you say I have discipline. Because I have discipline because I'll show up to anything. I don't cancel appointments. So I just started working out with some personal trainers, and I will show up to the meetings. I will show up to do the workouts. But if I'm left to my own devices, I won't do it. So
That's the
I have the accountability.
you're
You're talking about
Yes.
the accountability. So I feel like I am becoming more. I'm being held accountable.
But even the doctors, I've known him forever, and he's never gone to a doctor. And all of a sudden, over the last couple of months,
Well, she's saying that something about your left foot didn't know what your right foot was doing. She's not referring to your hands because she was not a handsy person. She's saying it was more about your walk. And so she was saying you were compartmentalizing the things in your life, that you were trying to like separate those things. You weren't telling one thing that one thing was going on, and you weren't really mentioning that anything was ever really wrong. But you knew when you lost her that you needed to make the change. She's saying thank you for making that change. I honestly am trying to see her because she's trying to communicate with me in a more personal way. So there's like orange or something in front of me. So she's saying something about, and I don't want to be like too TMI or anything like that, but like anytime that you're working, especially with chakras or knowing your aura or knowing your colors or knowing how people speak to you, she's showing up in the orange saying, fraternally or like through fertility. That's usually like reproductive or any of that part. She's saying that all works, use it. That's what she's telling me.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's like,
Mom's still pushing that agenda. Mom's still pushing the
she's
agenda.
saying use it.
She's been wanting me to I'm the only one of my siblings that don't have kids.
So this is what she's telling me, is that you need to be using it. She's showing me orange. She's telling me
Oh my God.
that you need to
Your
be
mom wants you
using
to have
it.
sex with a girl.
Right. She doesn't
use it.
She doesn't watch it, but she's like kind of like showing this area and saying that needs to happen. Like she's pressing for you to use it.
Did she ever say that to you?
And
before my brother and sister had their children, she was always saying, "When are you gonna have kids?"
yeah, she's still
when
asking.
Are you taking the next step?
She's still asking.
I love that.
I thought that I thought having my brother and my sister would divert the attention away.
No, it wasn't.
And we have 4 nieces and nephews in my family.
She said
now.
her purpose was for legacy, that you were going to live a long life and you can't live it without children. So you need to be tapping into that. That's the reason why you lost weight, was so that you could have a long life and chase babies and do those things. So you need to be doing those things.
No, he lost weight because it was a sponsor and they paid him.
Right. That
What
too.
happens is I
That too.
lose it, but again, I no accountability. Now I have the
So
accountability.
no, the accountability would be if you felt accountable to your legacy, accountable to what your mother is saying, and to your children.
I got a question.
Yes.
Are you gonna
in
fight
all
with
of
your
this, when you meet people, do you ever meet someone and immediately get skeeved out? Like, ooh, no, I don't like
Yes.
what's happening here.
Really?
Yes, because all of them are not nice. All spirits are not nice. Some spirits are very mean. I had a man come in and possess me to the point where he was upset with the woman that he was no longer with when he passed. He passed early. He was like in his 40s. He died of like heart attack, stroke, and he was upset with her because she was using his computer. She was using his computer after he left. She didn't get rid of things that were in the house. He was very upset, and he was like, and he didn't want her to date after he left. So for me to be trying to like speak to her, she became extremely overwhelmed. It happens a lot in the restaurant. I think it's because it's like the space that's like, it was created for that. It wasn't, that's why it's a living room. That's why it's a kitchen. That's why food makes you vulnerable. It breaks you down. It makes you feel like you can trust somebody, especially when it's good to you and when you feel like you're in a safe space. So those spirits kind of like walk in and out all the time. That was one of the reasons why I thought I didn't want the restaurant, is because I didn't want to be on Front Street. I knew that I had the gift, but I didn't want to be in the public eye like, oh my God, now you can see me and you're going to just ask me questions. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about that one. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I didn't want. I told you when I did hear things on the radio and heard you talking, I heard things that were from your ancestry very far back, and that was why you were called Gandhi. That's why, you know, it was about tapping into your spiritual side. It was why you needed to understand your ancestry. You also understand your culture. You need to not be afraid of it, and you needed to break away and be free from whatever was going on in the past. That's why you had that sort of transitioning into what's new. You asked earlier, do you have to die to have that experience? No. Sometimes you just get laid down or you get separated and isolated. it from people so that you can go into like a cave. I call it a cave experience. You get separated from people, you isolate yourself. You don't need to talk to anybody or deal with anybody. And you sort of detox from energy, from people. And then you get the boom. You know what I'm saying? You get the message.
How do you shut it off? Like, how do
You can't shut it off.
Does it drive you crazy when you're working though? Not in like the restaurant's packed.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's like it's too much, and I'll get like a little bit overwhelmed. And I've experienced like really heavy anxiety, panic attacks, and stuff like that. Now I know it's not like a mental health issue for me. It's more heavy spirit. So like some of them just want attention. They just want to be able to handle unfinished business or talk to people or have the connection or get something out. And I sometimes don't want to do it and try to fight it. And that's what creates what people would say is anxiety. It's not anxiety for me. It's me processing.
There you go.
Wow.
Does it stress your husband out?
My husband was the perfect partner for me because he just understands my crazy, and he's able to take me right into a bathroom and be like, calm down, relax. He's like my whole sensei, like just go ahead, go do it. So yeah, he's
You got
perfect.
someone on your side.
Yes, absolutely. I needed that.
I think you have all of us on your side at this point, Shaw-nae, to be perfectly frank.
Yes, I love it.
We never got to Bruno Mars today, but
Right.
the podcast is over.
He owes a lot of money.
He owes a lot of
Yeah,
cash.
Bruno Mars tomorrow. He owes $50 million.
How is he going to pay that back?
Well, he makes a lot of money too, but that's
It's a whole lot of moonwalking he's going to have to do.
question. How do they let it get that far?
Right. How do you let that debt get that high?
Because he's Bruno Mars.
Well, through my research watching The Sopranos, it seems as though one of the things I learned was they don't bleed you dry immediately if someone's trying to get money from you. They do it little bits at a time. And MGM probably said, oh, this guy has a gambling problem. We're going to let him gamble. He's here. He's performing. He'll make the money back. And then he loses more and more. And now they own him.
Right. And that's probably what they really want. They want the opportunity to own you.
Yep.
Say
Yeah.
you owe me.
And now they do.
They said he makes $90 million a year in residency, but he owes $50 million.
So does that mean he spent 140?
I don't know.
Oh my hell!
What's the tax debt on that?
Is this the Wheel of Fortune
scared.
machine he's on?
I'm scared.
I'm gonna start the
Wheel of Fortune
GoFundMe.
machine.
Right. Let's
$150
go.
million.
Oh my god!
Shaw-nae Dixon, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you
today.
guys. I love you guys. Appreciate
We love you
you.
more.
Yes.
And tell Jason that we said hi if you see him.
Yes, I'll let y'all know. I'll let y'all know when he responds.
He wants nothing to do with microphones whatsoever.
Sitting in the corner, spinning in a chair.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.